Hello everyone, welcome back to the VidMark podcast. I'm very excited. This week we're going to be talking about the Super Bowl commercials from not last Sunday, but the previous one. So I know, a little delayed, but we promised to release the episode with Elizabeth last week, so here we are. But I like the idea of reviewing the Super Bowl commercials because after all, they are videos, they're advertisements, and the ones that stick in our minds are the ones that have a memorable story. So, or in the case with this year, maybe they tacked on to another story or a cultural phenomenon, just something that gets to stick in your mind as a viewer. So today I'm going to be going through my 5 top favorites in order leading up to the top favorite one, and I'm going to include some of the notable mentions as well as a review of the halftime show, and I think this is going to be a really fun episode, so let's get started. Welcome to VidMark, a podcast to give you the video marketing knowledge to always hit the mark. Let us help build your confidence with video strategy and content creation best practices. Join us weekly for pro tips and guest interviews as we explore the powerful communication tool of video. It's time to boost your business. Let's talk video. All right, number 5 on the list is GM's Ultium battery with Will Ferrell, the competition with Norway. This one is just, anything with Will Ferrell is pretty funny. He just brings so much humor to it, and also some notable characters like Kenan Thompson and Aquafina. So yeah, I like this, and I think they're building upon people's sense of competition. So Will Ferrell right away says that Norway is beating us in electric vehicles, and at the Super Bowl, that's a competition. So I think they're playing upon that. Will Ferrell in perfect fashion. He's got, kind of a rustic looking beard, a plaid shirt, pot belly, punches right through the globe, says he won't stand for it. So, I don't know how much of this, I know he's a pretty improv kind of actor, method actor maybe as I say it, but he does a good job of bringing you on along for the ride. And then the next scene, Will Ferrell is in the car talking to you, the camera. He says, "I won't stand for it." And he actually exclaims, "We're going to crush those losers," in reference to the Winter Olympics, the luge. But I had to do a little bit of research on this one because I was like, has Norway won a lot of the luge? Well, Norway has won 368 medals at the Winter Olympics. They have the most of all time since the inception of the games, but they actually haven't won luge in the Olympic Games. So feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but that was something I noticed. Germany actually has the most with 31 gold medals, and it was like something like 70 plus medals in general. So, little fun fact. And then he eventually visits Kenan Thompson, dressed in a pirate costume for his daughter's birthday, apparently. And I had to do a little bit of research on Kenan as well. He's actually the longest member of SNL, longest member on SNL in their history. So, he's been on the show since 2003. First movie was D2 Mighty Ducks. And, yeah, pretty funny. So, he's in a, pirate costume, kind of shock and awe there. And then he visits Aquafina, who is doing some archery. And I had to do a little bit of research on Aquafina too. I was like, was she on SNL too? But actually, she became famous in 2012 with her song that was in response to the song from 2006, My Dick. She comes out with a song with My Vag. So that song now has 5.9 million views on YouTube, and she actually lost her job because of her music video. So something to take into consideration. So she kind of was all in. But she wound up having a pretty good acting career soon after. 2016 was in Neighbors 2, and 2008, I think I got the time wrong there. But she was in Ocean's 8. I think that came out in 2018. Crazy Rich Asians in 2018. Jumanji: The Next Level, 2019. So she's gone on to have a really good career. I imagine she'll probably continue to keep producing awesome work in music videos. And then Will Ferrell explains that Norway is beating us in EVs, and she continues to shoot at this archery board, and Will Ferrell's like catching each of them. Pretty funny. And then eventually catches one with his mouth just to show his epic ways in the art of I guess, catching arrows. And then Will Ferrell, they're like, why can't we all ride together? And he's like, I don't know, you have to go find your own way. So he drives an EV onto a freight. And then they show him just going across the ocean, him puking off the side of the freight. All funny little antics along the way. And then, Will Ferrell pulls out a miniature megaphone and says, "Listen up, you fish 11," and then looks around and he's like, "Oh man, this is a really nice place." And then he gets a phone call from Keenan who says we're in Finland, and they have like a caribou that's like approaching him in Aquafina. And then Will says, "I'm in Norway," and then one of the ladies in the audience says, "No, you're in Sweden." So pretty well put together skit. It's got an excitement. You're going from one place to the next, so it's creating that sense of adventure, destination, sense of competition. People are probably like wondering, what is this all about? But I guess GM has 30 new EVs that they're promising to release by 2025, and I guess this is just like a promise to consumers. Some of the responses that I heard or looked at when I was just doing some more research is, I guess GM was hesitant on the mandate when it was like coming out in California. So anyway, they've kind of turned a negative into a positive, I guess, now that they have to come out with this new line. And anyway, curious to hear your guys' thoughts. That one I put in at number 5. Very catchy. I actually saw it before the Super Bowl, but we'll see. There's some other ones I think just kind of take us a little bit further, but I put the link to the commercial into the show notes so you guys can check that out. The 4th one on my list is actually another GM commercial. It's the Edgar Scissorhands, and I didn't really put 2 and 2 together. I'm not a huge car buff, so I didn't know that GM actually bought Cadillac back in like 1909, something like that. But this next one, Edgar Scissorhands, is a spin-off of the movie that came out December 7th, 1990, which is Edward Scissorhands. But they bring back Winona Ryder. She's doing her voiceover, talking about her new son, Edgar. I guess they couldn't get Johnny Depp in this, so he's not in there. But he's supposed to be the son. And I didn't know this until I looked it up after the fact. But Edgar's going off to college. He's a young boy, and he's punching the alarm clock, chopping up a pineapple, cuts the public bus cord. The magnet in the auditorium gets stuck to him. So all these little shenanigans. Pops a football when someone throws it to him, fitting for the Super Bowl. Then he's eventually working at a Subway type place. And then it kind of builds up that all these bad things are happening to him. Eventually the bus driver won't let him on the bus, so then he's walking home, and scissors get stuck in the fence. All these funny little antics. And then eventually Winona Ryder sees him playing VR, and he's like driving a car, and that's how they connected the dots with him. So she eventually buys him a brand new Cadillac Lyric. All right. And so then they show at the very end him pressing the auto steer button, and the car is driving for him. But in little tiny font, they show at the bottom that you still have to pay attention even while it's in super cruise mode. So we're not fully in the autonomous time period yet, but pretty clever. Spin-off of a movie that came out in the 90s. People know it. It's very jarring, I imagine, to anything else. It's that Tim Burton kind of gothic look. But curious what you guys think. So that one came in number 4. I actually didn't know that they were it's like building off of, not only are they coming out with these electric vehicles, but self-driving cars. So GM put a lot of money into Super Bowl commercials this year. Number 3 is, for me, was Uber Eats with Wayne's World, Eat Local, with a special guest appearance of Cardi B. I had to do some research on this one, too. Wayne's World, I guess, came out on Valentine's Day, February 14th, 1992. So they reference a lot of movies from the 90s and music videos from the 90s as well. But you have your classic Mike Myers, Wayne Campbell, and Dana Carvey as Garth Alger, sitting on the couch, party on, excellent, saying all that stuff. And they're like, we would never manipulate you like those other commercials. So they're already playing upon just the whole premise of commercials because, they're trying to eat local, and then, playing into the actual movie, which was, they were a small local broadcast, gets bought by a bigger one, trying to deal with all of that. And they do all the subtle hints of, Garth with his slow-mo hair and eat local on the screen. And then they cut back, they do a good job of cutting away and then cutting back, and then but putting a little twist on whatever the cutback is. So then the next scene is them with little babies, with mini-me's, with eat local shirts on. And then they're like, we would never rely on a celebrity cameo. Bring on Cardi B, who appears, and then they're like, or we would never jump on the latest trend. And then they do like a vertical kind of TikTok-looking dance, but it's just like a clothes swap. Maybe that is a trend. I'm not really on the TikTok game. And then, bring back local eats, doing the classic local eats, Wayne's World, yummy time, excellent. And then Cardi B does her little, twirl, her little, oh, I don't know. I can't really do it. But, yeah, that one came in number 3. So, as you're seeing, there's kind of a trend of playing upon something that a lot of people know, but putting a little twist on it. And Wayne's World is pretty well known. Kind of a risk with some of these because they're considered like your cult classics, which I've heard with any movie that's ever made is a cult classic because you're always going to have like a small following of people that might like it. So same goes with this one. I'm surprised I didn't go with a bigger movie, but yeah, I think it winds up working out well. And I'm just going to say, I'm explaining a lot of these commercials, so if you have no idea what I'm even talking about, I would just pause this and watch the commercials. I put all the links in the show notes, and that'll give you a better sense of everything that's going on. I actually, leading up to this episode, reached out to like a small group, and I started talking about these episodes, or about these commercials, and it was just like kind of going over people's heads, and I was like, wait, have you guys not actually seen these commercials? And yeah, that was the case. So yeah, it seems like less and less people are watching the Super Bowl. It used to be, my mind, was one of the bigger things to partake in. Number 2 on my list. All right, this one is Rocket Mortgage, Certain is Better, with Tracy Morgan. Gosh, Tracy Morgan is such a unique character, unique demeanor, just awesome. His stand-up's really funny too. And yeah, they started off with him in a bathtub eating strawberries. A lot of these are, just as funny just reading out what they are. Because I feel like when we watch commercials, they sometimes, I don't know, you expect the bizarre, the random. So here we go. He's eating strawberries, and he's like, the new couple just bought a home, and they're like, we can be certain we're pretty sure we did everything. And then they're like, what's the difference? And they go through a series of scenes. The first one being, they're in the forest eating mushrooms. They're like, I'm pretty sure these aren't poisonous. Someone passes out or dies. I don't know. And then they're up in the plane. Pretty sure these are parachutes. And they're like, mine has a sandwich. And then Tracy Morgan grabs that. He's like, that's mine. Pretty interesting, stunts and situations to be in. There's a grizzly bear. Pretty sure you don't run. And then Tracy Morgan runs. And then they have, I'm pretty sure you can take down Batista, the well-known fighter. Also, shout out to his role as Drax the Destroyer in Guardians of the Galaxy. And then his, wife's recording the fight, and she's like, I'm pretty sure this is trending. They go through killer hornets. They do the bridge going up. They're like, I'm pretty sure we can make it. And then at the very end, they've kind of stated the case that certain is better. So let's go with certain. And they do a little throwback to Batista, Tracy Morgan, I'll hold the dog, and then the guy running off, not again. So pretty good series of little skits. That seems to be kind of the trend with the last 2. They're like little funny bits all combined into a bigger scenario. Now, there is a second commercial. They did 2. I did the first one, or the one that makes sense kind of as first for me, but in the second one it's similar, but some of those other scenarios that they go through is like a bunch of snakes being in a WWE fight, a grudge type character from like a scary movie. I'm pretty sure that's a figment of our imagination. But I won't go through all of those ones. Eventually with the cameo of another pro football player, Joey Bosa, who plays for the Chargers. But yeah, it was interesting. A lot of these commercials, they had kind of a tiny hint to the Super Bowl and football, but for the most part, I think they try to extend the life of them, so it's like a nod, but they want to use them in later regards, so you don't want to kind of... this is good for when you're making your own videos. You don't want to do things that make your video kind of seem permanent in that one spot in time. So like referencing a year or referencing something that has just happened. You want to talk in more like general broad terms. All right, we will get to the number one, in my opinion, commercial after the break. A cactus knows how to survive. It can endure scorching heat, limited rainfall, and defends itself against critters daily. Your business is no different. To survive harsh conditions, it's important to develop deep roots using media content that'll continuously nourish and support your marketing efforts day after day. Tactus Media is here to help you determine a strategy and create media content. Together, let's map out the next sequence of videos, podcasts, and social media to help your business thrive. Work with Tactus Media, media tactics that stick. Ouch! Visit tactusmedia.com to learn more. All right, welcome back. So, for me, the number one was Cheetos with Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis. I don't know what it was. I think it was just everything that was coming together. So it's a throwback to not only that 70s show. I didn't realize this, but Ashton and Mila actually got married in 2015, and they're going on, I guess, 6 years now. And they do a reference to Shaggy's "It Wasn't Me," which I had to look that up. It came out in 2000, and yeah, I guess the way that song got popular, it was really interesting. It was kind of on the cusp of the Napster and some like local Napster, scenario where everyone could get music, and like a local guy put it on the radio, and it just blew up. So it's funny, they have him wearing the same purple outfit that he was wearing in the original music video, and but they do a little twist on it, which is awesome. They have Shaggy talking to Mila Kunis, just say it wasn't you. And they pretty much do the whole song, and they have Ashton Kutcher singing it, who he's not the greatest singer. I don't know if he's like purposely not trying just to, because it's funnier when he's not able to sing in key and carry a tune. And they go through the different scenarios of this big mansion, which is similar to the actual Shaggy commercial, walking through the mansion area, and you can see the Cheeto prints everywhere. And they do a nice little twist at the end where Shaggy's like, that actually worked? He's like, that's the first time that ever worked. So, very well done. Cool way. Like, if you asked me, yeah, let's combine Cheetos and the Shaggy song, and I would have been like, what? That makes no sense. But they do a good spin-off here, and, some beloved people like Ashton and Mila Kunis that people like, and a song that's well-known. So I think the big takeaways from the commercials this year, those are my top 5. I'll review them one more time. Number 5 being the Norway with Will Ferrell. Number 4, Edgar Scissorhands. Number 3, Uber Eats with Wayne and Garth and Cardi B. And number 2, Rocket Mortgage with Tracy Morgan. And then number 1, it's the Cheetos. You guys are probably wondering, well, there's some other good ones, and we'll get into those notable mentions. But I just want to mention or say with all of these commercials, they're compressed very tight, so they give you like a hook at the very beginning, and you kind of give you some wonder, like, where is this going to go? They give you a series of events, progress. They're making the characters are making a transformation over time, very short amount of time, 30 seconds or less, and then they give you a resolution. Whereas that might not have always been the case. I know in the past with some of the Super Bowl commercials, they gave you like the hook, series of events, no resolution, and it was just kind of like eye candy, whatever could be the most jarring. But I think consumers are getting more and more aware of good storytelling, getting more and more aware that you need to be brought on a journey, have a promise, and follow through and deliver. I know a lot of people are probably wondering why this one didn't make it, and that is the Alexa with Michael B. Jordan. And I didn't need to do some more research on this one too. So I was like, how are they making this connection? And there's like a bus that pulls up that says like Tom Clancy's Without Remorse, a movie with Michael B. Jordan on the side. And I had to look that up. That movie is actually coming out April 30th to 2021. Someone said that it's like the confirmed prequel to Rainbow Six. Very interesting that the movie is coming out. They didn't really nod to that too much, but very funny commercial where the gentleman's wife is now the Alexa's competition with her husband, essentially. And the only reason why I didn't think this one should make the list is because it was just a little too vague. Like they didn't really highlight the Alexa as much, and so, but they did an excellent job of. I think a lot of people are gonna think of Michael B. Jordan when they think of their Alexa. Has a nice, like, cool shape to it. Looks different. Maybe I guess they figure that you should do some of your own research after watching the episode on what the new Alexa is. But yeah, there wasn't really anything that stood out for me that made it different than the Alexas in the past. So that was why it didn't stand out for me. I'm always do a little bit of a nod to the benefits when you're doing some kind of commercial. The next one, I think a lot of people probably thought this should have made my top 5, and this was one of the few more serious ones. I feel like there were a lot more funny ones, but the Bruce Springsteen Jeep commercial. I'm young, I had to look up that was actually Bruce Springsteen, though I do like his music, where he's just kind of talking about the divide in America, bringing people together, and then he's eventually walking into a church. So, yeah, a lot of people felt like that was, a good one, necessary message, and, I think at the end of the day is a good message. But for me, I don't know what it was that just didn't make it to the top 5. I think for me, I want something that's going to, like, really stand out and be associated with something that's memorable in my mind. I don't know if there was really anything super memorable other than it does make you feel something, a sense of, I don't know, like sadness, nostalgia, connectedness. The next one, TurboTax. It's a series of desks going to different homes, giving out random advice. My dad liked that one, so I threw that one in there. And then another notable mention was the Foley.com, the standing desks, where people like dancing at the different desks. I think they come in different colors, and yeah, that one stood out because they weren't as big of a name brand. It was like, good for them for putting in a spot there. It's always tough with a lot of these commercials. I can imagine that like people come up with a bunch of really good ideas, and all of them pretty much get shot down, and then they have to come up with like, I don't know, you can see that the people that were able to be a little bit more, or the brands that were able to be a little bit more out there, didn't have to be super conservative with their branding, were able to, stand out. But I think when you have all these people sitting around a room, you have all the, everyone's always diluting the idea down. So fully, I think that's maybe what happened to them, and they probably didn't have the bandwidth or the budget to, hire Tracy Morgan, to hire Will Ferrell, because those guys are worth quite a bit. So that wraps up all of my takes for the commercials. I think they were. This is just an interesting Super Bowl in general because there were less people. I had to look up to see what the crowd was. There's actually only 25,000 fans and then 30,000 cutouts. So they had potential for 55,000 people in attendance, but that wasn't the case at Raymond James Stadium. So this had a different feel than some of the ones in the past. But yeah, going into my halftime show analysis, I know that's not normally something we do on this show, but I don't know. I thought it'd be fun to talk about The Weeknd, talking about some of his, big hits. I know for my fiance, she was like, oh, I didn't realize that was The Weeknd song, because he did some throwbacks to songs that were just massive, and like 2018 just completely took over the radio. But it was cool. It started off with like a cityscape, Smoke machines going, everyone wearing blue coats and red goggles. And then, he has this iconic, like, red jacket, pretty cool. Feels like a Prince or Michael Jackson kind of feel to it. But, then there's an opening of the room. He goes in this, like, light room area with a selfie cam, which I've never really seen that before. And I saw some funny memes that came out after the fact of, like, when you get lost, and because it's like him going through the room, looking around, and you got all the lights everywhere. And then they come out. Everyone's wearing these, like, white face masks that kind of look like the masks that we have to wear for the pandemic. And everyone's wearing red coats and all black, and everyone's got, like, lights on their hands. That's always pretty cool when they bring the lights down, and everyone's got their lights on their hands, and when you're doing your dance moves, it looks cool. So, and then everyone goes down on the field. They're in sync. I thought the fireworks are pretty cool, just in general, how they synced them up. Not the greatest fireworks of all time, but fireworks in general, they're hard to top. I thought it was interesting. They went from wearing blue coats at the beginning to then wearing red coats at the end. Not as much of, like, a story or a theme that went along, but I think they only had limited things that you can do, and there's a smaller audience, and just the nature of people being close together as performers. So I think The Weeknd did a good job. He's a really good singer. Not a ton of, like, dance moves, but he has confidence, and I think he delivered a really good performance. I looked up online how people received it. They're like, definitely not the worst performance of Super Bowl. Not the best, but it was still really good. Kudos to The Weeknd. I think it only helps his brand and only helps his personality, because he's unique. That Blinding Lights song kind of feels like a throwback to the 80s, but with a refreshing twist, which, like they say, there's nothing new, and the retro is always coming back into style, right? And then a little last head nod, I guess, Tom Brady wound up winning it. The Bucs wound up winning the game. Gronkowski, too, with 2 catches. Who would have seen that coming? Both those guys are a bit older. They've played, like, 2 lifetimes of football compared to probably some of the other younger guys out there. But they won it. I won't go into too many details. But, yeah, it's a pretty good overall event, Super Bowl. It brings in a lot of money, and it's a cultural phenomena where we're all tuning in at the same time and seeing what might happen live. There's something very unique about live where there's the uncertainty of what can and may happen. So this concludes it. Till next time. And remember, always set goals, hit the mark with your video marketing. See ya. Thanks for tuning in to VidMark, a place for all your video marketing needs. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite platform and tune in every Thursday morning on either iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and more. For a behind-the-scenes look and some bonus tips, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Until next time, good luck with your video marketing efforts, and remember, always hit the mark.